it in because it's a nice kind of dollopy mixture.
I'm in love with my hairdresser.
Oh, gosh. Do you see, I don't mind that. Oh, look at that. That just makes you happy, doesn't it?
So as I walk along, I dance, and people who walk past me point and laugh.
Right, gosh. There's a cloud of flour. Oh, I've just inhaled a load. Okay, let's carry on. There we go.
Thank goodness for triple layered cakes with cream.
Do you know, we couldn't stop laughing at the size of this cake. Oh, it's gone up my nose. And we need our weighing scale. Oh, what's going on today? Honestly, I've not been drinking, everyone, although it looks like I should be.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 147. I even made myself jump there.
You did, you made me jump.
Did you see me jump?
No,
that was really funny.
You made yourself jump?
Yeah, I've never actually made myself jump before, until then.
Oh.
I'm a mental state. Well, would you believe that today is the start of a new month? It's not for you.
Oh, it is? Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's not for you. It's 2 days after that.
Yeah.
But for us, today's April the 1st.
It is April the 1st.
And you see, I'm going to say something that isn't an April Fool, but it's going to sound like an April Fool.
Right.
I've got some gossip.
Oh, gossip.
I know.
We like gossip.
I know. And it's salacious gossip too.
What does that mean?
I don't really know, but it sounds right.
Okay.
I'm in love with my hairdresser.
Oh, gosh. Do you see, I don't mind that.
Do you know why she doesn't mind? Because guess who my hairdresser is?
Look, needs must.
Do you know what? I'm thrilled.
Well, I think he looks a bit like an action man. Or G.I. Joe.
Eagle eyes.
Yeah, do you know, with the kind of like
with the fuzzy hair.
Fuzziness.
Yeah. Did.
You do well in the army at the moment.
I want to know if in America and other parts of the world, because here we had Action Man with the eagle eyes. Did you have a G.I. Joe with eagle eyes? In fact, was G.I. Joe just Action Man?
I think so.
Or was it different?
Well, no, I mean, he might have looked a bit different, but I think it's effectively the same kind of toys.
Yeah. You know, I never had, I don't think, although now I'm having...
What does GI stand for?
I can't remember. I did know.
I should know that.
Someone will help us.
Someone will tell us.
But I had a memory just then of suddenly, because you see, I never thought that I had my own Action Man. I thought I had my brother's Action Men.
Right.
But I do seem to have a memory of opening one once. So maybe I was given an Action Man. And I remember, because I was very lucky where I grew up, because there was lots of woods and there was lots of like mud, and you could go and like dig trenches and...
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
So you did that with your Action Man?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Like full-on adventures. The other thing as well was we had an awful lot of trees.
Yeah.
So that you could like... Because there was a zip line.
Climb and things. Oh,
I remember.
Wow.
I'd completely forgotten the Action Man zip line.
Oh, cool.
It was
I thought you meant a zip line for you.
No.
I was going to say that would be.
But Action Men were... I think they were the staple sort of 1980s.
Yeah, Action Man, yeah.
But the other thing I used to do, and my gran used to hate it, and I don't blame her for hating it, because of course my gran lived through World War II. We used to go out... I mean, who did this? It's just terrible. But it's just boys. We'd go and play guns.
Well, yeah, boys did do that.
Do you know what we'd use? We'd use oars. So they were plastic oars.
Plastic oars.
And like the end of the oar was like the the back of the gun. And then you just run around the garden making gun sounds.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. But I don't think we ever went bang.
No.
It was more like pew, 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 pew. Yeah. I remember it sounding better than that though. And then I remember if you were hit, you went down. I mean, and the better you went down, the cooler the game was. And that was like, we did that all the time. What did you play?
I didn't play guns.
You played with the dolly with the hair.
Oh, yeah. You see, I didn't. I just had my nearest sibling was a brother. He was is 2 years older than me. So I you know, he was the one that I played with if I did, but I didn't really, because it's a boy, isn't it, you know, and just didn't really do that. But yeah, I had a Girls' World head.
Wow.
Can you remember Girls' World? You can still get them, but I don't think they're called that, and they're not the same.
They're a bit terrifying.
Yeah, they are a bit. Bryony's got one. She's still got it upstairs.
Yeah.
She obviously never plays with it these days. But
I'm telling you.
She won't let me throw anything
Its
away.
eyes follow me around the room.
Yeah, but I loved mine. And it had, I think they all tend to have blonde hair, don't they? Certainly mine did. Had like blonde hair in quite a long bob, you know, and a fringe, and you had all the makeup. And mine was good because you could properly rub the makeup off it.
Right.
Whereas Bryony's, you rub the makeup off and it's still kind of stained on it.
Right.
So after a while, she just begins to look a bit bizarre because she's just, you know...
It's like she's got permanent makeup.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But I used to love plaiting the hair and tying it back and putting on eyeshadow, and that was definitely my thing, I think.
I never did that.
Well, I'm not surprised you never did that.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, how are you coping indoors? We've been trying to do our bit to keep you all entertained, and we now have 3 series all available for people to watch. I'll list them in the show notes below. We've got, the first thing we made free was The Quest for the Perfect Cup of Tea.
Yeah.
The second thing we made free was Journey to the Centre of the Yoke.
Yeah.
And the most recent thing that we have made free, we made it free on Monday, is your Bits and Bobs Behind the Scenes series.
Gosh, I don't even remember doing that.
Well, that was a really cool series that we filmed. We filmed it in 2017.
Gosh, wow.
Because what happened was you had the inspiration for the Bits and Bobs, and you were like totally wired with excitement about the inspiration. It was just after Christmas 2016.
Yes,
that's
I
when you
remember
cast
that.
it on. Yes,
I remember that.
And like, I mean, it might be the 2nd or 3rd of January. You said, "Just get the camera, put it on me."
Really?
And you just started talking. You started gushing
don't
about your
remember at
inspiration
all.
behind the Bits and Bobs.
I'll have to watch it. I've not
Episode
got a clue.
2 is a month later.
Right.
When you had made some more progress. Episode 3 is 2 months after that.
Right.
So it follows. And the series is shot over a 7-month period. And
yeah, because it took me 7 months.
it culminates in the pattern shoot, which was done on the north coast of Scotland.
It was. That was amazing, actually. And it was literally just outside the door of the cottage that we were staying in.
And it was unbelievably appropriate because, of course, the whole inspiration behind the Bits and Bobs was your dad and his jumpers that he used to wear when he was fishing.
Yeah.
And we took the photos on what I'm sure was what was used by people to launch fishing boats from that little bay that
There
we
was
stayed
a little
in.
bay, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that is available for you to watch. And we'll be making one more series free, and it's an absolute cracker, and it's coming on Monday next week. So just keep your eyes on our homepage, www.bakerybears.com, and every Monday we put on the bottom of that page what has just been made free.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of being stuck at home, my hat is removed. I wish I was wearing one, then I could doff it.
What?
Yeah, I know, I've not got one on. My imaginary hat.
Oh, right, okay.
My hat is doffed to everyone who is homeschooling.
Absolutely.
Across the world, there will be people
Absolutely,
doing
yeah.
different levels of homeschooling.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. Well, I mean, we are, but we're not actually doing any teaching, are we? Because the school has just been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, the what they've done in the amount of time that they had.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. You know, Bryony's downstairs now, you know, doing in class doing her schoolwork, and she's doing exactly the same classes. It's like she's at school, you know. Her timetable is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And each lesson, you know, she gets it online. It says what she's got to do, and she completes that lesson, and then she hands it in.
Yeah.
She's actually been chatting with a few of her teachers as well.
It's brilliant.
Back and forth. So
I emailed Bryony's school because
we did.
Just doing that and keeping that routine has just been...
It's just been brilliant, you know, and...
What that backs up, though, is what we've always sort of lived by. And, you know, certain people might not agree with this approach to life, but we have found that approaching life with a routine is an absolute winner.
We've always had a routine, and...
It just works. Sometimes it might get blown out of the water, and that's fine, you roll with the punches,
But it's just been brilliant. And then, you know, we've been getting her out. You've been going out for a walk with her every day. Or we've been
I have been doing some teaching.
Have you?
Oh, yes.
Right.
I am now Bryony's PE teacher.
Oh, yeah, because she has 2 PE classes a week within her timetable. So you've been doing Just Dance, haven't you? Or is it Michael Jackson? Or
Wednesday's PE lesson. So today's PE lesson is Just Dance. And Just Dance 2019, for those of you who wondered, which is way, way, way too hard, I've got to say. The other thing that we've been doing on a Friday, is it Friday?
Friday,
I think so.
yeah.
We've been doing the Michael Jackson experience. So we've been doing Thriller and Bad and Smooth Criminal and all of those. Bryony absolutely beats me in Just Dance, and I absolutely beat her in the Michael Jackson experience.
Yeah. But we've also been taking her out for a walk every day. And that's something that she wouldn't normally be doing. But she would, at school, she'd normally be going up and down stairs and moving around and, all of that. So we've tried to make sure that she's still getting that during her day.
Yeah.
And then after school, she's been FaceTiming her friends.
Which has been amazing.
Which is something she's never done really before, because she's been with her friends all day at school and she's just been loving it. She was full of herself yesterday, wasn't she? Because she did a little group chat with 2 of her friends.
Yeah.
Just been brilliant,
And I've been making it my mission when we go out on our walk to make people smile without waving at them. So the way I do that is I dance in the street.
Gosh, I'm glad I wasn't there to see it.
Because what we do is me and Bryony, we listen to music when we go. It's been so great. We listen to music, we walk around. We might talk a little bit as well, but we're enjoying the nature, and we keep looking at the same tree and we're watching the leaves as they open. And I said to her yesterday, actually, this is going to be wonderful because we're going to watch the woods blossom.
Yeah.
It's just going to be amazing.
So, basically, we're just making the best of the situation, and I think that's what we've just got to do.
So as I walk along, I dance. And people who walk past me point and laugh. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some bad news, some good news, and then some great news.
Oh, right.
So the bad news is today would normally have been the launch show for this season of The New Adventures of the Bakery Bears Season 4. And let me tell you that this is the most researched and prepared for season in the history of New Adventures.
Absolutely is. So you've done so much work on it.
To now not be able to launch the show because of the situation we're obviously all in, it's just totally inappropriate. We can't go out, we can't film. So that has been postponed. But do not worry, because the show is ready to go, and as soon as we're able to go film it, that's what we'll do. But we don't need to worry. We do not need to worry. Oh my goodness, you're just... Thank goodness.
What's he going to say?
For cakes.
Cakes.
Thank goodness for triple layered cakes with cream.
Do you know, we couldn't stop laughing at the size of this cake. It's just enormous.
Folks, just so you know, what will see us through until we can get outside for some more adventures? Pudding Club, of course.
Yes.
Thank goodness for Pudding Club, and thank goodness for you. Talk about, seriously, I'm not joking, talk about pick up the mantle and run with it.
Well, you've got to do what you've got to do.
Needs must.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Now, there's an extra bit of great news, but this is specifically for Bakery Bear patrons, because the other thing that's about to start, and you're actually going to show a little bit of this.
Yes.
You've got some things.
Yes, in finished and on my needles.
I know.
Yeah,
it's very exciting because we are about to... Obviously, we've made all those lovely things free for you, but we're still putting out our patron content every Tuesday and every Thursday. And the thing that we are so excited about, and it's coming up on the 14th of April, is we're beginning the Bakery Bears Knitting University.
Yes.
These are more than tutorials. These are lectures.
Oh, gosh.
You see, that sounds intense and boring.
I know.
It's not. It's the most...
Well, I hope it's not.
It's not. I was hooked as I edited it. 3 wonderful courses, 3 exclusive patterns.
Yeah.
Have you shown one of the patterns already?
I have, but not finished. So
right,
it is finished now, and you'll see that later. But I've actually got the next design for sort of the second series course on my needles, and I'm going to show you that in a minute.
Cool. So pretty much over the next 3 months, starting this month in April, we'll be running our Bakery Bears Knitting University, taking you all the way through Magic Loop socks, all the way through DPN socks, and then a special little course on hat knitting as well. Cool. So we're super excited about that. So there is, for everyone, lots of lovely things to look forward to. Speaking of things to look forward to, I think it's time that we found out. Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Well, it's the said second course project.
Woohoo!
Did I say that right?
That's good enough for me.
I'm not sure. And
That was very English. I like that. It's very posh. We were going through posh words yesterday. They were taking the mick out of me yesterday. They were asking me to say words.
no, it wasn't me. It was Bryony. Because I don't know how we even got onto the subject, but
I will have said something. Someone will have gone, oh, you do speak posh.
You know, I would, for example, I would say bath. I'm going in the bath. But Dan would say...
Bath.
And it's just the...
You would say...
I'm teaching a class.
I'm teaching a class.
Yeah. It's that kind of shortening and lengthening.
Raspberries. Raspberries.
I don't say raspberries. I don't say it like
that's
that.
how I tried to say it. How do you say it?
Raspberries.
Raspberries.
Yeah.
Raspberries. Raspberries.
And Dan says raspberries. So, you know, Bryony was just like, oh, what other words? What other words are like, do posh people say?
Thanks. Prep instead of homework.
Prep instead of homework.
Scripture instead of religious education.
Yeah, yeah.
Golly.
You never say golly.
I used to.
Right. Okay.
But trust me, when I moved from private school to public school,
you stopped.
it was literally beaten out of me.
It's just the difference in schooling, you know.
Yeah.
I went to a comprehensive in Yorkshire. Dan went to a private school in Yorkshire.
I then went to a public school in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And it was two very, very different experiences.
Yeah.
But both I loved.
Yeah.
Both had, you know, the private school taught me things. What I was taught in private schools got me further in life than anything else I've ever been taught anywhere, because it taught me how to speak properly, how to be really polite, and how to sort of comport yourself. I always likened it to doing national service.
Right.
Because it ingrained in you a discipline and a...
Yeah, I watched a series, didn't I?
On Harrow, was it?
It was Harrow School. What did I watch it on? Was it...
It was on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And I think it was just called Harrow. And it should still be there. It was recently, I watched it. It was filmed quite a few years ago. I think it was like 5-6 years ago. And it was all about Harrow School and focused in particularly on this one house there. So you kind of got to know all of the boys. And I was just gripped. I loved it. I just found it really fascinating how different a life it was.
Yeah.
The schooling that they had compared to, you know, the schooling that I had. It's very, very different.
You know, looking back now, and honestly, I say this completely truthfully, that if I was to try and tell you what it was like in the most simplest terms, I would tell you to go and watch Harry Potter.
Right.
Because that's what it was like.
Yeah.
You know, it was similar in the way that things looked. The teachers comported themselves in a very similar way.
Yeah, and it was kind of like that with Harrow, because the teachers wore the black cape things. I don't know what they're called.
I can't remember.
No, and you know they all had the uniform was so old. It looked really old-fashioned. Did the teachers wear mortarboards
as well?
Teachers wore mortarboards, and all of the boys had straw hats on. They all absolutely hated them.
Yeah.
But they had to wear them, you know, and they had to tip their hat whenever they passed a teacher.
We didn't have straw hats. We had caps.
Yeah, it was like a cricket sort of cap, wasn't it? Kind of.
It was, yes, sort of.
It had a peak.
Yeah, it was like a short peak.
Yeah.
Whereas our cricket caps that we did wear as well had a slightly longer peak.
Yeah. So it's worth watching that if you fancy something, you know, along those lines. I'm sure it's just called Harrow on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Really good. So anyway.
These look great.
Yeah, what's on my needles?
I love the yarn.
Yeah, it's a pair of socks for the second course, as we said, in the Knitting University. And for the second course, I'm going to do double-pointed needle socks, so knitting a pair on DPNs. It's very different to Magic Loop, and I know some people out there knit socks on both. I've seen lots of podcasters in particular who, you know, interchange and knit them on both, and then there are people who are very much one or the other. And I think if you've never knit them before, knit socks on double points before, it can be a bit intimidating. I do think there's a lot more technically challenging, and
you need more finger dexterity.
Yeah, just the kind of ergonomics of it.
Yeah.
I think is quite tricky. And
what's so different though to
arranging the needles and finding a way that's comfortable for you.
What I've loved though about what I've filmed so far, and what I've learned specifically, is you're not just showing how to do it, you're talking about different options. You're also explaining why you do things in a certain way.
Yeah.
And rather than just being a tutorial, it's like this deep dive into every. I mean, at the moment, all we've shot is the magic loop thing.
Yeah, we've not done the.
And I've learned so much in every video, because sometimes teachers will tell you do it like this, but they don't tell you why not to do it like that.
Yeah, I think.
And you've been doing a bit of that.
I think it's sometimes good as well to just see how someone else does something that you also do. You know, it might be that you already enjoy knitting on double points, but you know, I'm always fascinated to see how other people knit, and it's that kind of fascination, I think, that draws us in.
Yes.
So I've started another pair of socks, and I'm using a yarn that I spoke to you about last time because I'm desperate to use it, and I'm so glad I am. It's the Dandelion and Dogwood yarn.
It looks lovely.
Yeah, that I spoke about last time. So Dandelion and Dogwood, and this colour is October Unicorn in the perfect sock. But to me, it's very summery. It's very, it does make me think of summer, just the colours. And because this series will begin kind of towards the end of May and then running into more summery weather, it just seemed right, and I just really wanted to use it. So this is it caked up. I've got one lovely side of a cake, and then one totally rubbish side of a cake, and it did something weird. My ball winder sometimes it's in a good mood and sometimes it's not. And this was half and half. So I've started a sock, and I'm using, have I still got it? I have. I just did a little practice because it was that long since I'd done it. I thought I better just make sure that I'm not getting ladders and that there's no sort of issues. And it was totally fine. I just used some of my yarn and just cast on a little sock. And I didn't get any ladders, it was fine. So, and I never used to get ladders before, but you never know, do you, when you've not done something for a while.
Did you tell me? Because I really need to. Well, I'll be filming it, so I'll know.
Okay.
But didn't you tell me that you've worked out how to do the no jog top on this sock on a DPN?
Yeah, well, when I join in the round now for knitting socks on Magic Loop, because that's my kind of preferred method at the moment, I can't say I invented it because I'm sure other people do the same thing, but I discovered a way of stopping getting that jog that you can get, because obviously you're knitting in a spiral and you get a little jog, don't you, when you cast on. So I found a way of eliminating that. But when you cast on with double pointed needles, it's kind of not the same. You can't really do the same thing that I do on Magic Loop. So I had a little play around, and I found a way of actually getting the same effect but just slightly differently because it's worked on double points. So I'll obviously include that. And
you'll be doing for the first time ever your 2-stitch pickup on double points.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever done that before, have I, on double points?
No.
But I will show you. I have put a little bit of a design in this, but it's nothing taxing, and I'll tell you why that is in a second. But this is my sock now. It's a shorty sock, so this is the length of the leg, and this is the front. And I've just put in 2 panels of garter running down either side, and then the back is just plain. And I think the yarn's really nice. It's really pretty. But if I show you the start of the round up here, you can hopefully see, if I arrange it correctly, that you can see the tail end here coming out, but hopefully you can see that that's nice and straight across. There's no jog. So I will obviously include that in the first video when we cast on. So I'm just about to start the heel flap, and I'm using wooden double pointed needles for a couple of reasons. One, because I really like wooden DPNs, and also I think if you've never knit a sock on DPNs before, I think using wood is a really good place to start because it's nice and grippy. I think, metal needles can be very slippy, can't they? And if you've got all of those needles going on, it's very easy for stitches to fall off, especially at the beginning. So I think using wood is a really good idea. And in all honesty, I just prefer using wooden DPNs just the security of it. You know, I really like that, you know, I feel like my stitches are not going to go anywhere. And these ones are, I think these are my favourite wooden DPNs actually, and they're higher bamboo. And they are 2.5mm. I'm using 2.5mm as I did for the first pair of socks, just because it's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing when we're filming, because they're just that little bit bigger. And the fit is still fine, you know, they just come out a tiny bit bigger than they do with...
Because they're so light.
2.25. They're very light, you know, they weigh nothing. They've got some flexibility in them. And I know that's why a lot of people don't like them, because if you knit tightly, you can be inclined to break them. And that's why people like metal. But I mean, I've never had that problem. I'm not particularly tight. I'm just kind of middle of the road, I think, with regards to tension.
Not that, like that lady we saw on the Villages series with Ben Robinson.
Yeah, on iPlayer, there's a series at the minute, it's called...
It's new, isn't it?
Villages by the Sea, I think it's called. And there's an archaeologist that presents it called Ben Robinson.
Used to be on Time Team.
Yeah, it's really good. And he visited one village, I can't remember where it was, but there was a lady knitting a Gansey...
It was Robin Hood's Bay.
Oh, it was Robin Hood's Bay. Yeah. It was, yeah. There was a lady knitting a Gansey jumper on the long double-pointed needles.
Go, girl.
They're like this long, because that's how they knit them.
Have a guess what her gauge was.
Her gauge for the jumper, 11 stitches to the inch. And I think it was double knit yarn she was using. It looked like double knitting. She didn't say what size of a needle they were, but they were thin. They looked like maybe 2.5, 2.75 millimetre. That thing, you know, she said the reason they knit to such a tight gauge is so that it's really wind and waterproof. And I'm telling you, that thing would have survived most
Part of me
things.
would sort of love to get similar yarn to what she was using, get needles and see, and just knit normally.
And just knit and just see what the gauge would be like.
It'd be so interesting to see.
I think it would be fabulous. And you know, I said to Dan at the time when we were watching it that I much prefer a garment that's knit to a tighter gauge.
Yeah.
I'm not keen on these sort of loosey-goosey gauges that seem to be really popular. And I'm not criticising them at all. You know, everybody's different. But I just like the thought that garment is going to look that good for a long time.
Yeah.
And I do think if you use a proper wool and knit to a nice firm gauge, that's going to last longer and look better.
Absolutely.
I think. For longer. It's like your vest, you know, that still looks brilliant.
Looks great.
And the one I'm knitting now as well, that's knit to a slightly tighter gauge, because I think patterns back in the day, I think they did knit to a tighter gauge than generally we do now.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting series if you fancy it. If you can get it, yeah, it's on iPlayer.
Yeah.
So this is my sock, and like I say, I'm just about to start the heel flap. But the yarn is really pretty, isn't it? I do like how it's knitting up. I think it's lovely. Now, the reason I've gone for something really simple with the pattern I've put in there is that I just think learning double-pointed needle knitting is kind of enough of a challenge that you don't really want to have to think too much about the pattern that's going on sort of underneath your needles. Because I was going to do something else, and it just dawned on me as I was knitting it. I'm thinking, do you know what? If you've never knit on DPNs before, I think doing something really simple.
Also, as well, I think, you know, you need to nail that. One of the biggest mistakes I think I made was I didn't nail the construction of a sock before starting to try to get fancy with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, your encouragement and shaming has led me to really push to get my technique right.
Yeah.
And that then is, I think, what's then enabled me to start doing more complicated patterns and it not look awful.
Yeah.
Because it would have done if it'd been all loose and not, you know, the technique.
Yeah, getting the
really
technique
important.
is the most important thing. So I think, you know, just adding that little bit of garter interest is certainly keeping me interested in it, and I think is just enough. And it will also suit every sort of type of yarn you could possibly want to use, you know, there's no issue. Now, I always knit my socks using 5 double pointed needles, so I hold my stitches on 4 and then knit around with the 5th, and that's how I taught you.
Yeah.
And that's just how I kind of learned to do it. To me, and I have knit a pair of socks using just 4 double pointed needles. I followed a pattern that just used 4 because I wanted to try it, and I knit the whole pair, and I just prefer using 5, but again, that's something that varies between knitters, and I know some people much prefer 4. The reason I prefer holding my stitches on 4 needles is that I think you're less inclined to get ladders, because the angle between your needles is less, isn't it, than, I kind of think. I feel like when I knit with just holding them on 3 needles, I feel like my corners are kind of more stretched somehow. But again, that's just me as a knitter, so that's just something that's personal to everybody, I think. This just makes more sense mathematically as well, because you've got your front stitches on 2 needles, your back stitches on 2 needles. Everything is even. If I was to split this onto 3 needles, I wouldn't have the same number of stitches on each needle, and again, that varies depending on how many stitches you cast on. But for me, with a 64 cast on, which is common, isn't it, I would have to have a different number of stitches on each needle, and I don't really like that. I prefer the symmetry of it. And when you start knitting the heel flap as well, it just means that you're holding those 2 needles at the front are just doing nothing, and you're just working on 1 needle on the back. It all just seems to make more mathematical sense to me.
Yeah.
That everything is split evenly.
Yeah, it's great.
The other good thing about double pointed socks is you don't have all that moving around of stitches when you're doing like the gusset. Everything's already set up for you, isn't it? And you don't need stitch markers, because your needles are dictating the end of the sort of gusset. So there's pluses and minuses to every technique, isn't there? And
there is.
I think it's a great skill to have.
The difference with DPN socks is I think it calls for more effort in the first instance to learn how to do it.
Yeah, it
and then it's more forgiving. Whereas Magic Loop doesn't call for as much initial,
it's much
but then it
simpler,
demands more as you get through.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I really like knitting socks on double points, because I feel like I'm being nostalgic's probably the wrong word.
I know what you mean.
But socks were always knit on double pointed needles, weren't they, going back in time?
To the days of yore.
Yeah, and my dad said to me one time when I was over years ago, I was sat knitting a sock on double points, and he said his mum used to do that when they were in the air raid shelters.
Oh, wow.
She always took a sock down with us, and he actually said she used 4 needles.
Right.
So, she just had her stitches on 3 and was using the 4th to knit.
Right.
And that's always kind of stuck in my head. My grandmother used to knit socks on double pointed needles, and it kind of connects you to the past, doesn't it, I think?
Yeah.
Whereas Magic Loop's a new thing, isn't it, really, in terms of how long it's been around. So I like that sort of connection as well. And it also means I get to use a lovely little DPN thingy. What's it called?
Holder.
Cozy thing. And this is one that my lovely Sasha made me with some pretty cherries on. So that's fun as well, to be able to use one of those. So I'm really enjoying it. I am really enjoying it. And I was kind of, at first, it just felt so weird because it's that long since I've knit a sock on double points that it just felt a bit like, oh, this is just strange. But I'm really enjoying it. And I'm relieved I'm not getting ladders. If you look at the back here, hopefully you can see that where the needles are joining here, there's no ladders. And I know, again, some people say that you can avoid ladders by kind of moving your stitches around as you go. But that kind of means that your start of round is going to change, isn't it? It's going to move, and I think you'd have to use a stitch marker for the start of the round.
And I've done that before when I was knitting something or other. I can't remember what it was. I seem to recall it being on a garment.
Right.
On a sleeve.
Oh, right.
And I started moving, but then you would move it, and then you'd just get a couple of loose stitches, where you'd moved it to, and then, the fabric just wouldn't look as good.
No, I think it's a better skill to be able to learn how not to get ladders, because then it doesn't matter, does it? You don't have to think about it.
No.
And it's just one of those things you have to practice, but it's obviously, I'll be talking about that when I do this, because it's a really... I think it's something that people do dislike about it, that, you know, they get ladders, and because you've got more ends of needles, you get more ladders than you would do potentially with Magic Loom. And I have got a name for them, but I'll keep that secret right now. Dan Jones, what's on your needles?
It's another sock.
Another sock.
I'm not doing as good a job with this.
Oh, it'll be the yarn, I think.
Right.
Is that what do you mean in terms of tension?
No, my tension's bang on. I mean, I was just looking. You know, look, what I've not done as good a job on is I think that I had some issues on the corner pickups.
All right, okay.
Certainly on one side, but I think it's because I really like the garter, what's it called?
Yeah, the garter-edged slip stitch heel, and I'm doing that on the second sock.
Brilliant. So I'll learn how to do it.
I'm doing lots of, like the heel's different, the turn's different, and the toe's different to the first pattern.
What'll be really useful actually for me is seeing a garter jobby with a 2-stitch pickup done.
Yes.
Because
it is
different.
It is different, yeah.
I've got closer to it being okay on the other side.
Yeah, that side's a bit dodgy.
I got some loose stitches as well.
We should be able to go underneath on the back of the fabric and tighten that up.
But there's no ladders.
No, there's no ladders.
I mean, I'm really happy. I'm so happy now with... Before, I wasn't great. It was, you know, slightly challenging. And what set me right is that video that you did on avoiding sock ladders, but also concentrating, as I've said before, as you always tell me, on the second stitch, not the first. Make sure that second stitch is right, and then that then keeps everything really even. I love the pattern.
Yeah, this is my nutkin sock, because that's the front of the sock. I can see what you mean about this yarn. Can you see how it's kind of striping?
I haven't said yet.
Oh, right,
and I'll say now. Kate has beautifully allowed me to enunciate for the first time in my history of knitting. I've never before, ever, looked at yarn, and I'll show them. It happened just yesterday. Look at the stripe.
Can you see how it's striping? And that's just how it's been dyed, isn't it?
Now, I love tonal yarns. That's not tonal. You shouldn't have a massive stripe.
It would be classed as tonal. But
I think that's like when a musician plays badly and says, "Oh, it's just jazz, baby." No, you were playing badly. Don't try and pass off.
When you look at it in the cake, you know, you would say that's a tonal yarn.
But that is a huge stripe.
Yeah, it just depends how it's been dyed. You know, it really just depends how it's been dyed, I think. Right,
everywhere else, it absolutely looks tonal.
So it's over the sort of gusset decrease area, which is normally where yarn changes, isn't it, if you're going to have it change?
So as I've come down the gusset decreases, it looks fine. And then as I start knitting straight again...
But no, it's when you're knitting straight.
Yeah.
You can see it within the actual leg of the sock, can't you?
Look at that.
I mean, as I held it up, look... You can see the stripes.
It's like a zebra.
It's okay. I'm all, you know, it's okay. But I know what you mean. But it wouldn't stop me using the yarn, something like that. I think if this was a variegated yarn, so it had more than one colour, and if it had more than one colour, this would be doing that kind of swirly thing.
Oh, no.
And I'm not keen on that. Because it's just one colour, and it's just 2 tones of one colour.
It's all right.
I don't mind too much, yeah.
Well, that's fine.
This would look nice on a mitten, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just realised, look. Can you imagine if that was a fingerless mitt?
So it's the nutkin socks. And I would say I found my perfect sock structures. When you have fancy stuff here and not here, it's perfect. I'm not going to knit... I don't think I should knit socks which are...
I know what you mean.
Textural pattern all the way down. I don't think that's for me. I think this is for me because I find it challenging and engaging, and I find it great fun, and it sort of picks up on all the things which I've been enjoying with regards to my garment knitting and you know, that sort of challenge. I feel like I've got the challenge that I got with the garment knitting, but in the small package of a sock. And I get now why you love them so much, because you can cast them on and get really engaged and then very quickly be casting them off.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, with a jumper, not so much.
Yeah. I think it's that sort of creative side of my brain. I always want to be doing something different. I think
you have a busy brain.
Very big. Well, yeah.
That needs constant engagement.
Yeah.
And I think every one of us, it for our own mental sort of equilibrium, we need to understand what our brain is like. And we've realised an awful lot, certainly in the last 6 months, what your brain is like. And, you can adopt certain tactics with regards to even to what you're watching. You're much easier. You seem to be much easier and happier when you're able to watch something which actually interests you and engages your brain. So all the business with regards to Egypt, all that stuff that you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
But then more recently, you've just found this series on Disney Plus.
Yeah, Dan's just got Disney Plus for us, and I've been watching Disney films, which has been really fun. But I've been watching the National Geographic channel, and it's been fantastic. I've just watched a series called Draining the Ocean or something. It's just been fascinating, and it's covered all kinds of places in the world. And it's been lovely. And, the Disney films I've been watching, that's been fascinating, because I watched Beauty and the Beast, very average, I'm afraid that I thought of that one. Then I watched Cinderella, the one with Lady Rose from Downton. I thought that was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I'm going to watch that again with Bryony. And I'm now watching Mary Poppins Returns. I have a lot to say about that.
We'll say another time.
Maybe say another time. Yeah.
So the yarn.
Yeah, so the yarn.
The Uncommon Thread Tough Sock.
Uncommon Thread Tough Sock. It's a bit faded on the label. And the colourway is Into Dust. It's gorgeous.
And it's lovely.
Whatever colour that is.
It's absolutely lovely to knit up.
It's like crushed blueberries.
It feels great, but I just don't particularly like how it looks.
The dye job. Yeah.
What else is on your needles?
Well, this is something on my hook.
Whoa.
Got my lovely basket out, and it's my granny square blanket. Now, I have been doing a bit of work on this recently, albeit quite slowly, because I am very aware of my crochet issues, but my shoulders are all fine and dandy now and everything's cool, so I'm just taking my time. But what I have done is I've added another row to the blanket, so I've now got 3 rows. Now, where did it start? It was up here. So the last time I showed it to you, I think I had 2 rows connected. So I've now got 3. So it's 6 blocks across. I don't even know if it's all going to fit in. Oh, there we go. So I had those top 2 connected, and then I've just done that 3rd row. Isn't it lovely? And I love how, small things keep me happy. And I love if I find an intersection for you and hold it close, I love how neat those corners are. Can you see where everything joins? I really like that. And I think the grey is working really nicely, and especially when I get a nice border on it. I haven't used much of the grey at all so far. I've connected, 18 squares. This is my first skein of the border yarn, and I've still got this much left, which is probably 50 grams, I reckon. So I don't think I'm going to use... I've got I think I've got 5 skeins of it. I'm not going to use anywhere near that. So I'll definitely have quite a lot of yarn left to be able to do a nice wide border. I'm not going to do anything fancy. It'll just be quite plain, but I think having quite a wide border, maybe a couple of inches, might be nice. And I do like working crochet borders because you're just going round and round and round and round, aren't you, doing the same thing? And I really like that. So yeah, I've got 18 squares now, and I'm working on a few more. And this is all crocheted, I nearly said knit. Apart from the border, all of the squares are crocheted using Sherry Iris yarns, and it was all the yarns from her Wildflowers mini club that she did last year. So it's all of the yarns. This one is July. So it's all of the yarns from that club, plus some others actually. I've got some 10 gram ones as well that she did more recently, and I've been using some of that too. So I've currently got just 3 more ready to go in, and 2 of them you've seen already, but I don't think you've seen this lovely purple one. I'm not sure. Look at that colour. I think it's just gorgeous. Just reminds me of sort of spring flowers. Just lovely. beautiful colours. And then I've just got these other two ready to join as well, a sort of greeny ready. And then this one actually is sparkle yarn. This one is the Strictly Ballroom that I used for my tea at Downton socks. So I've got those three ready to join in, and I've got one more on the go here. And look at that colour. Isn't it pretty? It was part of the month that was, it was like Wimbledon and strawberry themed, so it's probably June maybe. And I do think it's like the colour of strawberry juice. You know, strawberries are not, you know, strawberries are that kind of pinky red colour, but I think strawberry juice isn't quite that colour. I do think it's more this colour. It's gorgeous, so I'm really enjoying crocheting this one up. So I think what I'll do is I'll just get to the point where I've got 6 more, and then I'll join those, and then I'll do another 6 and join those. And I'm just kind of picking out colours that I think will be random within that row. So I'm just sort of going into the basket and just picking out what I think would go nicely with, you know, the one next to it sort of thing. So I'm using a 3mm hook for this, and it's one of the lovely clover ones with the squishiness. I did buy another crochet hook recently to try. It was tulip. It was a tulip one, and it's a pink colour. Because I'd seen a few people using the tulip hooks, and I was just sort of fascinated. So I got one, and I haven't used it yet, but I don't like the feel of it as much. The handle is thinner. It's a sort of similar look. It looks a bit like this, but the handle's thinner, and it's a harder sort of rubbery substance. And also I didn't quite like the look of the hook as much. So admittedly I haven't tried it, I must give it a go. But I'm not drawn to use it at the minute. I do really like the clover. So I'm just working away on that slowly, trying not to do too much, because I kind of get into that zone where I think, oh, I'm really enjoying this, I'm really enjoying it, I'm going to do another, I'm going to do another, and then the next day my shoulder's killing me. So I'm really being strict with myself and just doing a little bit. So if I crochet up a square one day, I won't do any the next day. You know, I'm being that sort of strict, and it'll just be done when it's done. But I think it's 6 across, and I think it's going to be 8 down, and that'll make a nice sort of quite a nice lap size, quite big really for a lap blanket, but really lovely. So I've got 3 rows done now, so that leaves 5 more rows to do, and then the border. It doesn't seem like a huge task actually when you say it like that, does it really? And I've got 3 done there. I'm on my 4th. I only need to do 2 more, and then I can join another row. So I think when you break it down like that, it makes a big project less intimidating. So I'm really enjoying that, and hope to show you some more progress soon.
I'm still doing the sleeve on the cascades. I'm really sorry.
Don't be sorry. Gosh, that's nearly the same colour as that sock.
Oh, it is.
Look at that.
Isn't that funny?
That's crazy.
And I'm still going through the increases, and I'm learning a huge amount on the increases because they're new increases on me. They're the invisible left, invisible right,
Yeah.
invisible purl left, invisible purl right. So it's a little bit different every time. And actually, once you do it, I mean, I don't know about you, but I love learning any new skill. And it's frustrating at the start where you have to keep checking to make sure you're doing it right. But then it's also very rewarding, isn't it? It's like anything in life. If you put in a bit of effort, then you get the reward where you start to not have to look. And still, I am constantly...
It's lovely.
Yes, I'm constantly engaged.
I do love
by how it looks. You just can't beat it, can you?
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
And I'm really happy as well that... I don't know whether it's because of
the other side.
The fact that it is this fabric, that's then stopping any ladder issues.
Yes, that will definitely help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
this would disguise that, so that's a brilliant tip, really, isn't it? If you if you've got a bit of texture in your fabric, it definitely disguises any possible ladders.
Yeah, you know, you see, the thing is, when I did re-knit the sleeves for the Claire Quat, I knit them and they were fine.
Yeah.
There weren't any.
Yeah,
so actually, maybe I have resolved those little issues I was
think
having.
You've just got to be a bit more mindful, is probably the right word, when
Yeah.
you're knitting on double points. And
Definitely.
And that's what I'm doing with my sock. You know, whenever I get to a new needle, I'm just thinking about it. And I think if you're thinking about it, you're less inclined just to, you know, work across without
And
just
not
paying attention. Yeah.
And, you know, you should be paying attention, shouldn't you? You know, granted, you might be knitting something which you don't have to pay attention, where it's just round and round and round, and that's fine. But as, you know, we've spoken about at length before, that's not the type of knitter I am. So I should be paying attention. And
I like to pay attention too.
Yeah, absolutely you do. I mean, there's nothing... I couldn't recommend this pattern more, to be honest.
And it's the Cascades.
It is, the Cascades by Miss L. Wong. Initially it was hard to engage with because of the way it was laid out, but once I was used to that, it's just been great. There's been nothing in it that hasn't been easily understandable and, you know, that you could just go and get on with. And what I'm knitting, I'm probably the happiest with it, you know, not in my work, in the design. I'm the happiest with how it's looking than anything I've ever knit. You know, specifically on a sleeve, you know, the Solio was different because there was stuff going on.
Yeah, that was tricky,
It was tricky.
That was really tricky.
It was enjoyable.
The lace, keeping the lace going and things like that, it was a bit,
Yeah. This, for me, picks up on the enjoyable elements from that Solio, whilst the design being something that's just working all the way through. Whereas with the Solio, it was just a bit odd. I found it difficult. So I couldn't recommend this more, but it is quite hard. So don't jump into it and think it's going to be easy, because, well, I'm sure for some of you it probably would be, but it's certainly...
I don't think it would be easy for anyone, no, because it's quite a complicated pattern.
That's nice to know.
Some people would find it less trying, less difficult, less, you know, wouldn't need to put as much thought in, but I don't think anyone would find it easy.
I think the only thing that's frustrated me with it is, and this must be reflective of how difficult it is, it's just the amount of time it's taking me. Because I knit more now than I've ever knit.
Yeah, but it's effectively knit to purl to. And, you know, rib takes probably twice as long as stocking stitch, doesn't it?
It's funny, isn't it? Because this is not mind-numbing. And ribbing is.
Yeah, because you're changing it. Every couple of rows, you're changing it and switching it.
It's funny how it must be the brain not seeing... the same thing. You're must going be like, this is interesting. I want to carry on doing it.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we know, as my most recent episode, actually, of my return to the centre of the yoke, it was sort of all about knitting and how it is. Your approach to knitting is very much a window on your personality and on your soul, Kay. Knitting.
Very deep, that, isn't it?
A window to your soul.
A Friday morning.
It sounds like a book. What else is on your needles?
I've got another sock on my needles.
Exciting.
This is so much fun. Oh my goodness. Let me get all my yarn out because it involves several bits of yarn. That's always a good start, isn't it? Now, which am I working with now? That one, so that I don't lose it. Right, this is a pair of socks, and it was inspired by a purchase that I recently made, some fabric, and I will show you that in Endy Bits. I'll show you the fabric that inspired it, because I'm hoping to do some sewing with Bryony during the Easter holidays. So I bought some new fabric, and it just made me want to knit a pair of socks inspired by the fabric. And the fabric I bought is based on the Wizard of Oz. And I've just had this Wizard of Oz thing in my head just recently, probably because I've been watching Disney films and, you know, I've been in that kind of, it's not fantasy, is it? Fictional world kind of scenario. And I thought, do you know what? I want to make a pair of scrappy socks, and I want to try and find yarns that all look Wizard of Ozzy, if you know what I mean. So I'm doing that. Wizard of Ozzy.
That's a great word.
It's not even a word, that, isn't it?
I like it.
It should be, shouldn't it? So I found 9 yarns, I think I've got. Yeah, there's 9. I think I've got all... Well, have I got all of the characters? I haven't got, like, the flying monkey and... But I think I haven't got Toto. But I've got most of the characters. So there's Dorothy, Ruby Slippers, Glinda, the Scarecrow, Yellow Brick Road, the Wicked Witch, Emerald City, the Lion, and the Tin Man. So I've got all the key sort of players in the film, haven't I? So I went through my scraps and all of my yarn stash to try and find yarns that reflected all of those characters. I did pretty well. I had to use some kind of artistic license for just really one of them, but I'll show you the sock. So I'm knitting an umbrella sock just because I wanted to see what a scrappy sock looked like in it, and also it just lends itself so perfectly to knitting a scrappy sock. Because, you know, you're just knitting the tube and then you're going back and you're knitting the heel, and you can use all different yarns, and it's just working perfectly. So this is my sock so far. Oh, it's so fun. So I've got Dorothy here with the blue and the white for her dress. This one's a Sherry Iris and it's got sparkle in it. And then we've got the ruby slippers, and this is Jules. If you're watching, this is a mini from you. She sent me some red yarn because I was moaning one time that I didn't have much red to put into my stitching time. So she sent me a few little minis, and one of them was a dandelion and dogwood, and it's something to do with lipstick and girls not wearing it. I can't remember the exact colourway name, but it's this gorgeous red, and I used it to knit a square in my blanket, and I still had, I think there was like 6 grams left. Perfect. I've got just enough to put into each sock. So it's this lovely tonal red, and again that's sparkly. So I've got sparkly Dorothy and sparkly red ruby slippers. Then I've got Glinda, which is this gorgeous pinky with a tiny hint of peach, and that one is Sherry Iris. And then I've got the Scarecrow. Now this doesn't, I know, immediately jump out as the Scarecrow, but he wears this exact colour top with like a cream coloured collar thing, and then like sort of dirty reddish coloured trousers. I couldn't find a yarn, you know, a variegated yarn at all anywhere. I went through everything that kind of had those colours in it. So I thought, right, okay, I've got this green and it's the exact colour of his top, so I'm just going to do that. And this, I think this is one of Kelly's. It was a 10 gram, and I think I got it in one of those packs that she does. And it's the most perfect green. I love it. And I love how tonal it is. You see, this is tonal yarn.
Yes.
This is a perfect example of how tonal yarn should be.
Not stripes.
No, it's gorgeous. I love it. And then, of course, we've got Yellow Brick Road. I dyed this. It was a 20 gram mini. It was part of the Rainbow Mitts set. Can you remember those fingerless mitts I made for Bryony? This was the yellow from it, and I just think it's the perfect Yellow Brick Road. I've got an image up on my iPad, and I held this against it, and it looked exactly the same. So Yellow Brick Road, and I wanted the Yellow Brick Road to be around the heel, so the heel's going to go in here, and that'll be around it. And then I'm just moving into the Wicked Witch. Can you see how it's kind of black and grey with little specks of bright green? So that's Wicked Witch. And then I'll just have Emerald City after that, which is this one. And these two, the Wicked Witch and the Emerald City, were in a Advent little calendar that my friend Sarah gave me last year. So she saved me on that because I didn't have anything that looked like Emerald City. And then I saw this and thought it's perfect. And then for the rib at the top, I'm going to use this one for the Cowardly Lion. And this is a mini from something I've just finished that I'll show you later. But I thought that was a perfect lion colour, isn't it? And then the heel is going to be the Tin Man, because I had loads of this grey and I didn't think like a 5 gram mini, well, a 5 gram mini certainly wouldn't do 2 heels, but I wanted to have plenty of yarn to make sure I had enough. So I'm using this one, which again is from something I've just finished that I'll show you later. It's the Loom wool yarn, and I think it's the perfect Tin Man because it's that silvery grey, but then it's got all the specks of rust. So perfect. So these are going to be my Wizard of Oz socks.
Beautiful.
And I love them. And I seem to have knit them up in no time.
They look like the socks she's wearing at the start.
Oh, they're stripy though, aren't they? I think they're red and white.
Yeah, makes me think of that though.
Are they red and white or blue and white? I can't remember. But the stripes aren't even either. They're all different widths. I didn't want them to be perfectly even because I think scrappy socks, I like scrappy socks where everything's a little bit uneven. So they're not perfectly the same width. They're all a bit different. And I'm really loving it. And I'll talk about my umbrella socks actually in finished things. a bit more, just to let you know where that's up to.
Cool.
Yeah, loving it.
Folks, we may be living in unprecedented times, but there's one thing that's going to see us through, and that is cake.
Yes.
So whilst the prospect of going outside on adventures may be postponed for a short time, there's nothing for us to worry about, not when this lovely lady is waiting for us in the kitchen.
Who's ready for a brand new season of Pudding Club? Yes, we're heading back into the kitchen for 8 brand new delicious bakes. Every one of them is inspired by the puddings of our youth. And at the end of the series, you can vote for your favourite. In 2019, you crowned Sticky Toffee Pudding your winner. But what will win this year? Let's find out in a brand new season of the Bakery Bears Pudding Club. Take a look at that. Welcome to a decadent slice of our childhood. This is coffee and walnut cake, and if you pop round to Dan's grandma's house in the 1980s, she always had one of these ready for unexpected guests. The history of this wonderful bake stems from the 18th century, when coffee salons grew immensely popular all over Europe. Upper-class ladies congregated at these wonderful places for one purpose: to share the latest gossip stimulated by caffeine and sugar. It was a pastry chef in one of these coffee salons, most probably in Germany, that first combined coffee with an actual cake. It was an instant hit. To this day, in homes and cafes across England, this delectable classic ensures a magnificent centrepiece to any afternoon tea. So let's get in the kitchen and get baking. Okay, so what are we going to need for our lovely coffee and walnut cake? So first of all, we're going to need some coffee, obviously. Now I'm going to be using this, which is espresso powder. You can get this really easily in supermarkets these days, but if for any reason you can't find the espresso powder, you can just use normal instant coffee, but just make sure you get a nice strong one. Now we're going to need some walnuts. I've got a 100-gram bag of walnut halves here, and what I've done is half of them I've left as the sort of halves, and the other half I've kind of blitzed up. And you can either do this in a food processor, or I just put them in a freezer bag and gave them a good old bash with a rolling pin. Caster sugar, as we normally do when we're making cakes. Icing sugar. Now this is a golden icing sugar, it's unrefined, but either icing sugar is fine, the pure white or the golden, absolutely fine. 3 eggs. And my eggs are really special. These eggs are from Prince Charles's estate. With everything that's going on, we couldn't find just normal eggs, so we had to splash out and get some Prince Charles eggs from Highgrove, some baking powder, and plain flour. Now, normally when we make a cake, I tell you that we need self-raising flour, and again, unfortunately, I can't find self-raising flour, so what we're going to do is we're going to make some self-raising flour. So we've just got normal plain flour and baking powder. So I think this is actually a really good exercise, because I know self-raising flour is not available everywhere in the world, so we're going to do it kind of like the old-fashioned way, really. Finally, some butter. And you can use all butter in this, but what I like to do is I use Stork for the actual sponge, and then I use real butter for the buttercream. It's entirely up to you. I know some people don't like using this product and prefer to use butter. Absolutely fine, whatever you prefer. So what about our baking notions? Okay, so the first thing we're going to need is the tins. Now I'm making a triple layered cake. You don't have to do 3 layers, you can just sort of reduce the mixture down and just do a normal sandwich if you prefer, but I'm going all out and I'm going to do 3 sponge layers. So I've got 3 cake tins. These are about 20 centimetres across and they're loose bottomed. if you can see that. You don't have to use the loose bottomed if you haven't got that, but I find these really useful. It's dead easy to get them out at the end. And what I've done is I've buttered them and I've lined the bases with grease-proof paper. A nice roomy mixing bowl as usual, our weighing scales, an electric beater or, you know, your food processory thing or whatever you want to use. And then some measuring spoons. Mine are very cute that Bryony bought me one Mother's Day, I think. But some measuring spoons because we're going to need to measure a tablespoon and a teaspoon at various points. And then my trusty spatula. And just then your normal kind of spoons and forks and things like that. So there we go, that's our baking notions. Okay, so let's get baking. Okay, so first of all, I will say that I've preheated my oven to 180 degrees C. So that's heating away while we get on with the sponge. So the first thing we need to do is to deal with our coffee. So I'm going to take the espresso powder and I'm going to get a tablespoon of the powder, pop it into a little bowl, and then we just need to dissolve this because we want it to be more in a liquid form rather than the powder. So I'm going to take my teaspoon measure and I'm just going to pop in about a teaspoon first of all. And this is water that's just off the boil. I've boiled it in the kettle, so it's just boiled water. And that looks to be enough. I've put in just about a teaspoon of water there, and we've got like a nice sort of thick sort of pasty sort of consistency. And just give it a mix to get rid of all the lumps. And then I'm going to set that to one side just to cool while we actually make our sponge. Okay, so now we're going to sort out the flour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn plain flour into self-raising effectively. Now the reason I've got the eggs here is because the way that I make a sponge cake, and this is the case for any sponge cake that I ever make, is rather than work specifically to measured ingredients for the sort of dry ingredients, the flour, the sugar and the butter, what I do is I weigh my eggs that I'm going to be working with, and then whatever they weigh, I'm going to use the equivalent in flour, sugar and butter. So although the recipe for this might say, for example, 175 grams of each of those, I always just weigh the eggs first to see how that compares to what it says in the recipe. So we'll weigh the eggs, our lovely precious Prince Charles eggs. Now, if you can see, they're weighing heavier than 175 grams. We're at almost 200 grams there, so I'm going to go with 200 grams for my measurements. Now, so it's entirely up to you if you want to follow that method that I use. You can just follow the actual weights that are in the actual recipe, but I prefer to do it this way, and I always have success doing it this way. So I'm now going to just remove my eggs and then pop on a bowl onto our weighing scales. So I'm going to put into that bowl 200 grams of the plain flour. Do you know what? I'm going to go with 194 because that's what our eggs weighed, wasn't it? So I'm going to go with 194 and be completely accurate. Now, to make it into self-raising flour, the quantities are: for every 150 grams of flour, you'll need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So you can just do the maths and work out exactly how many teaspoons you need to add depending on how much flour you've got. So that's for every 150 grams of flour, we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So I've worked out that I need just over 2.5 teaspoons for the amount that I've got here. So that's 1, 2, and just over a half. So now to combine all of that into the flour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sieve it into my bowl. So just pop a sieve over And then by doing it this way, we're giving the flour a little aerate, but we're also distributing that baking powder. Right, we've got our flour in there now. This is hilarious, isn't it? I feel like Fanny Craddock or something cooking today for some reason. Right, flour, we now need sugar. Let's pop our bowl on there and zero ice and pop the sugar in next. I'm going to go with that 194 measurement because I'm being scientific. Oh, I'm really scientific today, aren't I? Oh, look, I'm not. That's 200. So let's go with 200. Next is the butter. So, as I said before, when I'm making sponge cakes, I always use stalk. Up to you. If you don't want to use this type of a product, then just go with butter. If you're using butter, make sure it's really nice and soft, not straight from the fridge. You'll have a nightmare trying to mix it if it's from the fridge. Make sure it's nice and soft and at room temperature. So again, the same measurement. Let's see how close I can get to 194. Oh, 195. That will do me. And now we can add in our eggs. Now these eggs, I've used these before actually when I was making, what was I making? I can't remember, but I was making something recently and I used a couple of these Prince Charles eggs and the yolks were bright orange. Oh, I know, it was a Yorkshire pudding. I made a Yorkshire pudding and I used these and it was the biggest, fluffiest Yorkshire pudding I've ever made in my life. So I do think these eggs are brilliant. So just pop these in. Look at the colour of that yolk. I've never seen eggs with that colour of a yolk. Just amazing. There we go. So that's our 3 fabulous eggs. And now all we're going to do is we're going to mix that into a batter, a sponge mixture. So let's get all these things out of the way. I'm going to bring in my electric mixer and I'm just going to beat that until it's lovely and light and fluffy. So we've mixed our sponge for about 5 minutes. It's lovely and light and fluffy, and I'm now going to add in some coffee and the walnuts. So here's our lovely mixture, and look at the colour because of those eggs. It's just such a fantastic colour, and I can't help but think it's going to give it that little extra lift, you know, with those fantastic eggs. So I'm now going to add in our coffee sort of paste, if you like, and this is nice and cold now. We don't want it to be hot because that could start to melt the butter that's in there, so it's nice and cold. So I'm just going to sort of swirl that in, get it all out, make sure we get everything. And if you prefer a stronger flavoured cake, you can add a bit more coffee powder. I mean, just really, it's up to you. But we are going to make a lovely coffee flavoured buttercream as well, so bear that in mind. So that's our coffee in there. And now I'm going to sprinkle in the blitzed up walnuts. So this is 50 grams of the blitzed up walnuts. It doesn't matter if we have some slightly bigger bits, because I always like that in this sort of cake. You know, you take a bite and you get that little crunch of walnuts. Delicious. So pop those in as well. And I'm just going to give that just a little mix. Don't go sort of crazy. We just want to amalgamate the coffee and mix in those nuts. Now I'm just going to get my spatula and just sort of go around the edge and wipe around that edge all the little bits that were sticking to the outside, just to make sure we've got everything mixed in. There we go. Look at that. Isn't it a fantastic colour? Oh, I'd love a jumper that colour. Right. So we're moving now over to our tins, and we're just going to split the mixture between the 3 tins. I don't do this in any scientific way, I just do it by eye. So I just put a lump in that one and then one in that one, and I just keep going around like that, giving them all roughly the same amount of mixture until we've used it all up. It looks to me like that back one's not quite got as much as the others, so pop a bit extra in there. And because we're using a spatula, you know, you can get your bowl really clean. I have washed my hands, so don't worry. So now I'm just going to get a spoon and just ease the mixture around. Just do this gently, just pushing it out to the edges. There we go. And then when you've got it eased out, just kind of run your spoon around to level it off. And then I just sort of run the spoon over the top like that. So I'm going to do that with the other two. Okay, so it's now time to pop the cakes into the oven at 180 degrees C. That's a fan oven. You be guided by how you know your oven bakes cakes normally, but as a guide, 180 degrees C for about 25-30 minutes. Keep an eye on them. You want them to be risen and slightly golden, and when you touch the top, it'll bounce back and the cakes will be just slightly shrinking away from the sides, and that's how you know that they'll be done. So I will see you back in part 2 when the cakes will be coming out of the oven. We're going to let them cool, and at that point we're then going to make our fantastic fluffy coffee buttercream. So I'll see you back soon.
There's literally one thing that makes my heart sing, and I physically gasped when I saw the third cake tin. Yes, triple layered cakes.
Yeah, it's a bit excessive,
You
isn't
can
it?
fill a cake with anything when it's triple layered, and I guarantee you it tastes great. It should be a rule. To be fair, though, if it was a rule, then it wouldn't be special.
No, it wouldn't, that's true. If it was a rule, all cakes would just be 3 layered, wouldn't they?
The thing is, though, if you bake a lot and you've never made a triple layered cake, perhaps, you know, a Victoria sponge cake or a coffee and walnut cake in a double layer might feel just the norm to you. Might not feel special.
Yeah,
well, just go and do it triple layered and it transforms everything.
It's true, actually, that it does.
It's like we were talking about with knitting. It's feeding the brain with an idea that then raises expectation, that then makes you enjoy it all the more. All the best chefs say, don't they, you've got to feed the eyes.
Yeah.
And my goodness, triple layered cakes do feed the eyes.
They certainly feed the tummy as well. We're still eating it now.
The funny thing is about instant coffee powder is it smells and it tastes like Bovril.
When you make it, it does smell a bit like Bovril when you make it, it's true. But in the cake, it tastes perfectly like coffee.
It's perfection.
It's weird stuff. I mean, if you can get the espresso powder, you see, I did it again. It's espresso, isn't it? Not X. If you can get the espresso powder, I would recommend using it. But you can just use normal instant coffee granules. I'd just probably use a little bit more. Yeah.
Folks, do not miss the second part of the show when Kay layers this thing up. Because that's the point where, if you go back to the start of today's video show and you see the bit where we're laughing uncontrollably, that's the point where she just laid up the cakes. And I looked at it and I just thought, that looks like a comedy cake.
It's mahoosive.
It's like a Dan Dare.
It really is. It really is. I didn't think it would be so big. And actually, do you know what?
It's Bruce Bogtrotter.
Yeah, it is.
You shall eat the entire confection.
Do you know what? The whole plain flour and baking powder thing worked brilliantly well.
But needs must.
Didn't have an issue with it at all. So don't buy self-raising, I say. Just make your own.
Yeah. Nigella to the rescue.
Yeah, I got that. I just looked it up on the internet how to do that, and I found this article from Nigella.com, and it said that she never keeps self-raising in. She only ever has plain flour in and then just has baking powder. So
we'll be back in part 2 when it'll be time to finish it off and taste it. But right now, it's time for us to find out, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
Absolutely loads.
Wow.
I've finished.
I panicked then for a second.
Did you think I was going to say nothing?
Absolutely nothing.
No,
No.
I've finished loads of things.
You've been on a finishing spree.
I really have. I do that sometimes. I finish 4 things, and I do that sometimes. And
They're
I think
great.
it's really good. It's really good for your, like, I don't know what the word is, just your knitting enthusiasm.
It depends on the type of knitter you are.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, well, it does me anyway.
I hate
love
finishing things.
Oh, no, I love finishing things because I love the thought of starting new things.
Not for me.
That's why I like finishing things.
Finishing things for me is a massive stress because I don't know what I'm going to knit next, and then when I do find out what I'm going to knit next, it's going to take me probably 2 weeks to get it going and into that zone where I'm happy again.
Yeah. No, I love it. So I have finished a few things, and the first thing I've finished is my lovely fingerless mitts.
They do look gorgeous.
Yeah, can you remember
That yarn's great.
Yeah, I was knitting these as my kitchen project, and actually I snuck them upstairs into the bedroom and had a few evenings of working on them as well.
All right, okay. So.
That sounds wrong, doesn't it? I know, I was wondering where I was going with that for a second. So yeah, these are my lovely, they're not fingerless mitts, they're wrist warmers. Aren't they sweet? And I knit these using, it was a mini skein set that I got at Christmas, so it's Pixie yarn, and it was gingerbread tango. And you got these 5 minis, and I think they've just worked out perfectly. I'll pop one on. Bryony actually put these on as soon as I finished them, and she really liked them because she's doing her schoolwork down in the kitchen and it can sometimes feel a bit chilly down there. So I said, put these on because you can still write, and she loved them. So do you know what? I might give them to her. But look, little wrist warmers. Aren't they sweet?
Yeah.
And the reason I like these is, when I go for a walk, I've got another pair of these that I knit ages ago, some scrappy ones. So when you go out for a walk, you can have them sort of tucked up and even have your fingers, all tucked inside. And then when you get a bit warm, you can just scoot them down and have them just over your wrist. Brilliant. So I just cast on 64 stitches like a sock on 2.25 mil. I did 12 rounds of rib, and then 80 rounds of stocking stitch and another 12 rounds of rib. Absolutely perfect little project. I'd really recommend these if you fancy just knitting something fun and you've got a few scraps lying around of favourite bits of yarn. Knit yourself a pair. I think they're absolutely lovely. So that's my first finished object, and I think I'll go and give those to Bryony in a minute.
Lovely.
And then I finished my stitching time blanket.
Wow.
Because I decided, I think I said last time, didn't I? I decided this was just going to be now a lap blanket rather than a bed runner. So I only had one more row at the bottom to do, and I decided just to finish it. So I did. So look, I've got this gorgeous little lap blanket. The last row down here, I hope you can see that. Yes, the last row at the bottom is the one I've just added. I do think that red is a bit sort of bright, but Bryony really loves having that red in the corner. And it's just perfect. So I followed my stitching time blanket pattern exactly. The only difference is I've just got 4 mitered squares instead of 9. And I reduced the size of the borders just because it's a bit smaller, the block. Other than that, it's absolutely the same as the pattern. And this is going to sit on the back of the sort of knitting chair, cosy chair in the corner of the kitchen, just for a blanket. I think it's essential you have a blanket on the back of every chair. Personally, I can't see an issue with that. Can you?
No.
So it's all finished. I was thrilled to get it finished. I haven't even blocked this. It just looks so good when it comes straight off the needles that I haven't found the need to block it. It's just perfect. So stitching time all done. And then I finished these are the Knitting University socks, the first pattern, and these are called Short and Sweet because they're short. They're shorty socks.
And they're definitely sweet.
Yeah, the little stitch pattern made me think of strawberry seeds, which are sweet. Aren't they lovely? When I was crocheting that square that I showed you earlier that I said looked like strawberry juice, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to knit a pair of these and use a green for the cuffs, heels and toes, and then use a strawberry colour for the actual seedy bits. So if there's any patrons watching and you want to do that when you come to knit these, I'd love to see it. If you can if you've got some sort of strawberry coloured themed yarns in your stash, I think that would just be lovely. I used Eden Cottage yarns for these, and it was the Brimham base, and the colourway was Rosebed, I believe. It's this gorgeous kind of dusky pink with little specks of gold in. Just worked out really nicely. So those are all done. It's a complete pattern, and
it's exclusively free to everyone who can access the Knitting University, which is silver, gold and platinum patrons.
Yes, and you will get actually the complete pattern in the first class, because I appreciate that some people might want to knit on a bit, and
as you say though,
I didn't want to make it unfun.
No. As you say though in the video, you're sharing things in the video that aren't in the
Absolutely, yeah. The pattern is a complete pattern. You can knit a pair of socks from the pattern, but it doesn't go into any detail with regards to things like how I stop the jog on the cast on, how I do the 2-stitch pickup, how I work the gusset decreases, how I do the toe, all the kind of techniquey things.
And these are all updated
in the videos.
ones.
Yes.
So even if you've seen Kay's previous tutorials, she recorded those in 2017.
So that series will start soon, which
14th
is
of April.
14th of April. That's really cool, isn't it? Just after Easter, that, isn't it? So
and
lovely.
Look at those.
And the last thing I've finished is another pair of socks.
I love these.
I'm going to pop these on the blocker. And this is the second pair of umbrella socks that I was working on last time, and I've finished them. So this is the second pair of umbrella socks. That yellow, isn't that yellow just fantastic? Oh, I love them. And this is the Loom wool yarn, and it's Faded Seaside Glamour. And look how the speckles work. I think it's brilliant. I love the speckling. So yeah, these are the umbrella socks, and the pattern is currently in testing. We're well into testing.
And you have about 5 times the amount of test knitters than you've ever had.
Yeah, there's 15 test knitters.
This has got to be the most test knitted and researched project you've ever released.
No, I mean, I've never had that many knitters test a single pattern. I had a big group for the Swish and Flick, but not all of them were knitting, every pattern. So this is the largest group of testers I've had for any single pattern I've put out. And so far, for everybody that's finished, some people have finished the entire pair, some people have finished one sock. And so far, everybody's said the fit has been really good.
Brilliant.
And they've enjoyed knitting it. The heel's really simple to work. All of the feedback I've had has all been positive. I'm thrilled, that so far it's all going well. So,
especially when it's something so new.
Yeah, it's something so new.
I think that's the reason why you've been so nervous. You're not aware of any pattern quite like this.
Well, no. I haven't based it on anything I've done previously, sort of thing. Obviously, it's the umbrella toe that I've used, but I've had to redesign it. I redesigned it completely for the heel. It's totally different, and the toe is obviously a bit different as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, and we will definitely have a knit along when this pattern comes out. I think that will be really fun, and I'd love, I'm excited to hear what everyone thinks of the pattern, but also, I am kind of nervous, but I feel less nervous having had such a large number of testers.
Yeah.
So hopefully when everybody's got through it and I've had all of the feedback, we'll be good to go. So yeah. I'll keep you posted on that. But I love these ones, and Bryony likes these, so I guess these will probably go to her, as most socks tend to.
Cool.
So that's everything.
Let's get back in the kitchen.
Yay.
And build our 3-tiered cake.
Welcome back, everybody, to part 2 of Pudding Club. Now the cakes are out of the oven and they've been cooling for about 20 minutes, half an hour. So now it's time to make the wonderful fluffy buttercream. Now when you're making any buttercream, there's kind of a ratio that you should always work to, and it's basically whatever quantity of butter you've got, you need double the weight of icing sugar. So in my case, I'm going to use 200 grams of butter, so that means I need 400 grams of icing sugar. And then to our buttercream, we're going to be adding in our lovely sort of coffee paste, or, you know, it's not a liquid this time. We do need it quite thick, and I'll show you that in a second. But first of all, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually beat the butter just by itself. And the reason I'm going to do that is just to make sure that it's as smooth and it's as light as it possibly can be before we add in the icing sugar. So I've got a full pack here, which is 250 grams, so I need just a little bit less than that. So I'm going to pop my bowl onto the scales. And this is nice and soft. It's been out of the fridge for quite some time. So 200 grams, which I'm going to guess at about that. Gosh, it looks like a lot, doesn't it? But this is 3 layers of sponge. If you were just doing 2, then you could just, you know, reduce your amount. So I'm going to actually just put this in sections. 200, so that's 201. That's absolutely fine. So you've got a little bit left over there for your toast in the morning or whatever. So I'm going to go in with my beaters, and I'm just going to beat that for about 5 minutes until it's lovely and soft and light and fluffy. So you can see now the butter is much lighter in colour. It sort of looks more like there's more volume because we've beat a lot of air into it, and it's just lovely and light and fluffy. So we're now ready to add in the icing sugar. Now I'm going to do this in 2 batches. So I'm using 400 grams altogether. So I'm going to put in 200 grams first of all, and then we're going to beat that, and then I'll add in the second 200 grams. I'm going to get a spoon to do this because, as we know from past experience, icing sugar tends to just create a cloud of icing sweet dust everywhere. So just by spooning it in, it just stops all that sort of dust. Now you can sieve this if you want to. I never bother because we're going to beat it really, really quite thoroughly. So I want 200 grams first of all. So you can see, I don't know if you can tell the difference with this icing sugar, but it's more of a, it's not fully white. It looks a bit like plaster dust, but it's not, obviously. The air now tastes sweet because it's full of icing sugar. There we go. Now, before I go in with the beaters, what I'm going to do is just take a fork, and I'm just going to go in with it like this, because if we do this first, it will avoid all of that massive cloud of icing sugar that will cover every surface in your kitchen. So if we just get it going first with a fork, I find it's a much less tricky business. You can see it's turning to what looks more like pastry, I suppose, doesn't it? But it just stops all of that dust coming up, all of that icing sugar dust. There we go, I think that's fine. We can now just scrape off the fork and just go in and beat that for, again, a good 5 minutes. The thing with buttercream is you can't overbeat it. The more you beat it, the fluffier and the lighter it will be. Okay, so that's half of the icing sugar in, and I've given it a good beat around for about, you know, a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm going to put it back on the scales and just add in the rest of the icing sugar. And I'll just tell you that as I'm doing this, I've actually got some more coffee mixture prepared. It's another tablespoon of the espresso powder with just a little spot of water this time. You can see it's just like much more like a thick paste. So that's sat waiting for when we've got all of the icing sugar in. So another 200 grams. There we go. So again, I'm going to go in with the fork and just get that amalgamated first before we go in with the beaters. Now, if you think when you start beating this in, you think it looks too thick, At this stage, don't be tempted to add any milk in. The reason I'm saying milk is that, because quite often with buttercream recipes, it will tell you to add like a tablespoon of milk or something like that, or cream. But the reason I'm not going to do that at this stage is we're going to add in that coffee when we've finished beating it, and that's going to add in a little bit of liquid. So we'll wait until we've got the coffee in, and if at that stage we think it's a little bit thick still, then we will add in just a touch of milk. So there we go, we've got that mixed in, and now I can go in with my beaters and really, you know, give this a good 5 minutes. You want it to look as light and fluffy as possible. Okay, so that's had another beat and it's lovely and fluffy now. It is quite stiff at the moment, so we might need a spot of milk, but first of all I'm going to put in our coffee mixture and just see how that affects the consistency. So just pour it all in, or in my case I'm going to spoon it in because it's a nice kind of dollopy mixture. Okay, just going to get my spatula just to get all of that off. And now we're going to go back in and mix that in, and it'll just change colour. It'll become a gorgeous caramelly colour, and it's already, you can see my mixture because I've used that unrefined icing sugar. It's already a lovely sort of pale caramel colour, but this is going to change it even more. Now I can tell that that is definitely still a little bit stiff, so I'm going to go in and just add about a tablespoon of milk. What you want is, you want it to be a really nice spreadable consistency that's kind of light and fluffy, not too stiff. Also at this stage, if you want to give it a little taste and see what you think of how strong that coffee flavour is, if you want to add a bit more, entirely up to you. So I'm just going to add in about a tablespoon of milk and give it another lovely beat. So there we go. Ooh, doesn't it look absolutely delicious? So we're ready now to sandwich everything together. Okay, so find yourself a pretty plate. I got this one on eBay about, gosh, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. I think it cost me like £2 on eBay. Never heard of the make, Dakin English bone china. But it's just the most perfect tea plate, isn't it? So I've got my 3 cakes here, which are nice and cold now. This one I'm going to use for the top, and then these are going to be the bottom and the middle. So grab yourself a cake. Oh, actually, before I put that on the plate, what I'm going to do, because you can sometimes find it slides all over the place, if you just take a little bit of your mixture and just put some blobs like that, it's like plaster, it'll just stick it to the plate. So take one of your sponges and just give it a wiggle just to stick it, and you can see now it's not going to move. And now we want to put about 1/3 of the mixture into the cake and just spread that around. I'm trying to judge what 1/3 is. That must be about that much, I think. Just push it around to the edge. And if you have little bits like that have come a bit loose, don't worry, it'll stick together. Can you see all the little air bubbles on top? That's because we whipped it and we whipped it, and it just created so much air within there. It just makes it lovely and light and fluffy. So that's your first layer. Now put your second one on. Give it a little wiggle, and again another 1/3 on top. This is quite a decadent cake, I feel, because we're doing the 3 layers. I mean, you can just do the 2 like that, and this would effectively then be the top. That would have been perfectly lovely, but I've just gone a bit crazy. There we go. And again, the top one now goes on. Give that a little wiggle. This is glorious, isn't it? I hope you'll all make this. Now, we're going to put it on the top. And you could actually put it all around the sides as well. If you've got enough to go around the sides, you can do that. I'm just going to put it on top because I quite like seeing all of the insides of it, if you like. So let's just go around and get a bit more. And just give it a lovely swirl on top, and I think we're about done there. Now the final thing I'm going to do is take my leftover walnut halves. Let's go going to pour them out, and I'm just going to pop these on top in a nice haphazardy sort of way. I don't know how many I've got to sort of go around the edges, so when you're not quite sure how it's going to work, I find if you do like opposites like that and then fill in the gaps, then it won't look like you've run out if you do run out. But looking at the number I've got left, I definitely can go around again. Perfect, we've nearly run out, and that's perfect. And then let's just pop one in the middle as well. There we go. We've stopped laughing, me and Dan have stopped laughing because we can't quite believe how tall and amazing this cake has turned out. Let's cut a slice and let's taste it. Okay, are you ready for us to try it? Oh, I'm so excited. I can't remember the last time I had coffee and walnut cake, and it's one of my all-time favourites, so I don't know why I haven't made it until now. But my goodness, it looks good. Are we ready? It's amazing. Oh my goodness, I need another bit. I shouldn't really, should I? Oh, it's fantastic. It transports me back to, I don't know when really, but it's just got that kind of really nostalgic taste for me. It's the kind of cake that, you know, your nan would make. And, you know, when you went round to your nan's, do you want a piece of cake, and she'd bring this out and you'd have it with a lovely cup of tea or a coffee. It's just fantastic. That coffee flavour really comes through, but it's still sweet, you know, because that buttercream is sweet. But the coffee, I think, really takes the edge off. And then you get that little crunch with the odd bit of walnut in the sponge. It's absolutely perfect. And, you know, if you do enjoy coffee, I would say this is definitely one to give a go. Absolutely the ideal thing for an afternoon cup of tea. So I love it. I'm going to eat some more of this, definitely. I say that, I'm just going to eat the entire piece. You know I'm going to eat the entire piece. So I will see you back next time for some more delicious Pudding Club.
Oh yes, now I was sceptical about this, and I'll tell you for why. My gran, as Kay said actually in the show, literally, whenever you went to my gran's house, there was always a freshly baked one of these. She must have made one every day. Obviously she didn't do that, but why is
Felt like it.
Why is it whenever I was there, that is what was on offer? And I think because it was, in my mind, as a teenage boy, and, you know, younger than a teenage boy, growing up, you go to your grand's house, you got coffee and walnut cake. And
yeah, I do
so
understand.
It became
it's not a child-friendly cake, and actually I let Bryony taste the icing, the buttercream, and she pulled such a face. She went, "Is this what coffee tastes like?" I said,
not really.
Not, well, you know, it does
It
does a bit.
Yeah.
But she didn't like it, needless to say.
So, you know, that's the reason why I was sceptical. But as soon as the third tier arrived, I knew I had to have a big slice. And I had a big slice, and it is gorgeous. But there's one thing that you need to add to the equation, and that is single cream. Pouring cream, baby.
Pour some cream over it.
I want you to drench your cake in pouring cream. Get a big spoon and tuck in. You will thank me afterwards.
Yeah, but, you know, we're not recommending this as a regular diet, everyone.
Let me tell you.
You know, once in a while.
There is nothing more English than a coffee and walnut cake.
No, that's true. It does feel very English, doesn't it? And it's
Afternoon teas everywhere.
tea. It's very, it's very typical to see this on a cake trolley.
And I think it's lovely to have an adult, you know. I'm as childish as the next person, and I love, you know, crazy ice creams and all of that, but sometimes it's nice to be a little bit refined and have a slice of adult cake.
I do kind of think it's something that the sort of male members of your family would be more drawn to than, for example, a Victoria sponge.
Definitely. definitely.
I'm not saying it's a manly cake or anything like that, but I think it does, because it's got that sort of
It's got coffee.
that punchy flavour.
It's got nuts in it.
Yeah.
It's a man's cake. Yeah. Seriously, you must try this.
It's lovely. It is really
you
lovely.
will love it.
And I want a piece now. We've still got quite a lot left.
Yeah, still got quite a bit.
I'm going to have some after my lunch.
And the great thing is with the cream, even if it's, going a little bit dry, if you've had it a few days, bung some cream on, moist. It's beautiful. Folks, that, I'm sure you will agree, was the perfect antidote to not having a new adventures. And I'm so excited. I'm even more excited about what's coming next.
Oh, yeah, I know what I'm going to do next, actually.
Is it what I know?
Yes,
excellent.
I think so. Yeah.
Gluten-free.
It is a gluten-free one. Yeah.
And naturally gluten-free.
Yes.
Not made gluten-free.
No.
Winner.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's always good, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's time, I'm sorry to say, for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits, I've only got one little thing. Actually, no, I've got two things, because we've still got the Mindful Cal ongoing.
I was going to say that.
Oh, well, off you go then.
No, you said.
Oh. So, yeah,
much nicer than me.
the Mindful Knitting Cal is still ongoing until May Day, which is the 8th of May this year. So carry on being, doing your mindful knitting.
Yeah.
The thread is open on Ravelry if you want to chatter about what you're working on. Post in there anything that you finish as well, and we'll draw some prizes from that podcast following the end of the knit along.
Race to the Moon is obviously still ongoing, and we must give an update actually on the next show.
Yes, we will.
Probably should have done it today, but it's only the 1st of April today for us. So it was a little bit of a fast turnaround to try and get all the things tallied up and ready to go for today. So next episode, episode 148, will give you an update on the mileage for the runners and the walkers, which of course anyone can come and join, and then also how the knitters are doing, which is our year-long patron-only knit-along. And also, while I'm mentioning patrons, I hope everyone saw the pop show on Sunday. Oh yes, our technological wizardry is now improving. The show now finally has a theme tune and a play out.
Yeah.
Even though I may have spoken over the top of the whole play out and had to play it again at the end of the show.
It was really good. Do
you know what? I've always been, since we started doing that show live, I've never really felt completely happy with it.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Because, things, if you're going to do something, you've got to do it right. And now that we can start to give it that polish, which we put on here, on this show and on the radio show and everything that we do, when you're doing things live, you just have to turn the camera on and go.
Yeah.
Now to finally have the creativity.
Oh, it's way better now, yeah.
And what we said in the show, and we'll just say again, just in case you didn't see, but on the next pop show, and I put out a message on our Patreon page earlier this week, if you would like to be involved in our next patron-only show, then please do email in a video of yourself filmed in landscape, telling us what you've been doing whilst you've been inside, staying safe. What have you been doing to keep yourself entertained?
Yeah.
We'd love to put together a montage of the whole Bakery Bear community, which I'll put all together, and I'll put some wonderful music on it, and it'll all be lovely, and we'll watch it in the next pop show.
I bought some lovely fabric I mentioned earlier. I bought quite a bit of it, actually. I went a bit crazy. So the range of fabric is from Riley Blake, and it's called Dorothy's Journey, and the designer is Jill Howarth. So that's the range. And Bryony's going to be thrilled, because I just saw on the back of this that it was made in Korea.
Oh, wow.
Bryony's favourite band is a band called BTS, and they're from South Korea. So when I tell her that, she'll want to use it even more. I got several sort of larger pieces, and then I got this little pack, which I think is called a charm pack, but I'm not certain. They're little 5-inch pieces, squares, and there's 42 of them. It's like the whole range, you get a little piece. So like this is one of the prints. It's really lovely. I'll show you some of the big pieces, which shows the print better. But then I like how you get like sort of coordinating, not neutrals, I'm not sure what you call them. Oh look, poppies. And then there's some that are more graphic, which I think is really nice. Look, like that one. I really like that one, look, with the house being whizzed off. It's cool, isn't it? And then you get, look, Yellow Brick Road. They're really lovely. So I got one of the packs of that to play with, and then I got some sort of big pieces of the main prints. I think this is kind of the sort of main design. Isn't it lovely? Look at them all. with the lion and Dorothy and the Tin Man and the balloon. So I've got that one in this sort of blue colour, and I got the same print but in white as well. And then I got the poppies because I thought that would be really nice as like if I make a project bag as a lining fabric. And I got ruby slippers. I don't think this is part of the same range. I could be wrong, but it showed up on the on the website, so I thought, well, I'll have some ruby slippers anyway. I'd love some ruby slippers. And then the last one I really wanted this one because it's got the flying monkeys on it. Look, flying monkey! Ooh! Not that monkey, do you remember that? And it's got the Wicked Witch, and it's got the Great Oz and Dorothy and Scarecrow. Oh, I love it. So me and Bryony are going to play with that hopefully over Easter. She wants to make a pencil case, so that'll be fun. And I need a new phone case, and I also want to make a project bag out of it. So, if I do make anything with it, then I'll show you when it's finished.
So have you decided which fabric you're going to use for your phone case?
Yeah, I want the one with the flying monkey.
Right.
I want to have a flying monkey. I've not got my phone case here, but I did when I used to sew for my Etsy shop. I used to make phone cases out of fabric, and I've got one that I've used for years. The reason I want a new one is because when I fell down in the mud when we were doing a radio show one time, I slipped in the mud, and my phone case landed in the mud, and it got really muddy, and I washed it as soon as I got home, and I used Vanish on it, but I can't get the stain out of it, and it's also looking a bit raggedy on the top. I've had it years, so I thought I'll treat myself to a new one. So I'm going to use this because I want the monkey
Beautiful
on one side, and I want the witch, and look, there's Toto. It's so cute, and it's just fun, it's just really fun to have some nice fabrics to play with when I've not done that for ages.
So folks, that's it. Kate just mentioned the radio show. Make sure you listen to our last episode, episode 19. That's when we were talking all about what advice we would give our younger selves. Oh yes, and
avoid that tall fella.
An interesting conversation. And the radio show will, of course, be back on Friday next week. So folks, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.
Yep, stay safe, stay well.
And we will see you in 2 weeks for episode 148.
See you soon.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Sitting and knitting, standing K the bakery prayers. Enthusiasm's not quitting, pretending K the bakery prayers. They'll take you to fabulous places of which they're favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern, get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself right down and watch Dan and Kate